overemphasize that our current situation is the outcome of Congress leaving a broken, outdated immigration system in place for over 2 decades, despite unanimous agreement that we desperately need legislative reform.
Wait a minute. This problem has been going on for such a long time that I can't. Why is it? You can't really just blame Congress and say it's Congress's fault because of this crisis situation at the border, and that's what Mayorkas is doing here. He's immediately coming out and making it political. Welcome back to the program, Dana Loesch here with you. He's immediately coming out and making this like super political, saying that, well, it's really ultimately this is it's Congress's responsibility. It's Congress's fault here for this border crisis. It's Congress's fault. All Congress's fault. The problem, though, is that, I mean, it's been a Republican and Democrat problem. I mean, no one's letting, I don't know why when you try to invoke the culpability of the administration, the left seethes and they bristle and they demand that you include Republicans in it. I don't think that no one has held Republicans more accountable on that than other Republicans. But this goes beyond that. So this was really, I mean, this was a thing. Title 42 is a way to allow a more streamlined, it was used as a way to kind of streamline the flow at the border, right? Because it was predicated upon, I mean, it was passed, a long time ago. It was brought up, implemented by the Trump administration, because there was concern about, before anybody knew anything about the virus and the pandemic, people were concerned about what would be spread if people were coming in at the southern border at the same way that they were pre-pandemic. And they keep saying it's like this Trump era immigration policy. This thing has been around for a long time. It's just, it was, used by the Trump administration. And it's about removing people who, when you have a communicable disease that is present, and you can remove people or prevent them from entering based upon that. And it was something that was used, like I said, to in some way kind of control the chaos at the border. I don't know how this is controversial, considering every other country has it and no one's bitching about that. Every other country has something like this. It's obviously, but because of the drive-bys, I feel like I have to explain something that should be so remedial. It's not called Title 42 in other countries. They have named it something else. But everybody has something like this. Every other nation has something like this. And it was used to turn people back or to remove people. And to do it expeditiously as well. To expeditiously expel people. And that's, I mean, and with this, to end this, I mean, this was one of the tools that really people had left. That was all they had left to be able to kind of stem the deluge, at least to try to make it manageable in some way. Now it's going to be crazy. Crazy. One of the spikes they say, and I was looking at this piece, this was, they were saying that a lot of people who wanted to enter illegally were losing patience. And so that's why they are saying that there's going to be this huge flood of people tomorrow. Because a lot of people were done waiting. And, I mean, golly, can you imagine? Welcome to... That sounds... You're mad because you've been waiting to get into this. Shut up. No, because so much of this, and not everybody's asylees. I know that's something that Mayorkas had said, too. Do you know they had... pull this up. Not like in the Rio Grande Valley, the Rio Grande sector, they had, just a couple of weeks ago, 7,000 people in custody Saturday morning. The majority were Venezuelans. And they said that and it had been increasing. They said they have about, that in just that sector alone, they had about 7,000 daily encounters. And you have Brownsville, which is in the RGV sector. I mean, I'm not even getting into the other sectors. This is crazy. I mean, they've been doing a really good job at Border Patrol for these different sectors at updating. Like, for instance, they said, this is from the Chief Border Patrol Agent, Gloria Chavez. She says, she tweeted yesterday, just over the weekend, they had 8,078 encounters, 16 smuggling cases, 21 principals and 1 sex offender arrested, meaning that there were 21 criminals and then a sex offender, 147 pounds of marijuana, almost 3 pounds of cocaine. That is wild. But that's crazy. I mean, and that's just one sector. Guys, that's one sector. You can go and look at all these different Custom and Border Patrol. They all post their stuff. They all post it every day. That's one sector. It is amazing. The Del Rio sector. We were talking about those just the other day. Oh my gosh, it's just so bad. Every sector, you got 6,000 here, 7,000 there, you had 8,000 there. Daily. That was just over her weekend numbers. They were looking at like 7,000 a day. And in Eagle Pass, the line of people at Eagle Pass is almost unbelievable. I mean, it really is unbelievable. He was saying that just this was in the Del Rio sector. This was a week before the update that I gave you from the RGV sector. They had over 5,000 apprehensions, over 3,200. They had approximately 3,209 known gotaways. They had 5 sex offenders, 7 illegal reentry, and 1 gang member. 88 smuggling cases, and they had firearms seized. So they were illegally bringing in firearms from across the border. And then they have been arresting, in another update he had MS-13, and they have the pictures of them. Here's the MS-13 members that they've arrested. And then the weekend before that, by the way, in that Del Rio sector, they had gang members, sex offenders, 4 illegal reentry, and they had 2,822 known gotaways. That's just at one sector. Notice how many sex offenders are coming up. They had smuggling arrests, human smuggling arrests. We have people loaded in the back of trucks, some of them kids. They had photographs of their Border Patrol agents having to drag children and women out of the water. The men, I guess, leave them behind there. Is that what it is? Coyotes just throw them over there and leave them? I don't know. It's unbelievable. They also found I'm going to pull this up. This is what's happening at the border. I'm reading you all this stuff because you're not hearing all of it. They also had a toddler. They had it was the Rio Grande Valley. This is the RGV sector. They found a group of illegal entrants walking in the brush west of Roma, Texas. They said all the adults were distancing themselves from this, they said 3 or 4-year-old. No one claimed familiar relationship with the child. The child's clothing had telephone numbers and names written all over. And there are photos. That's what's happening. That's what these border policies are doing. And so Mayorkas gets out there and says, well, we're going to spend money combating the propaganda from the cartels. We're going to try to combat the propaganda from the cartels that say that the border is open. You know, we're going to, which means they're going to, instead of closing the border, they're going to spend taxpayer dollars arguing with the cartels. We got audio of this. This is audio Sunbite 19. Listen, this is Mayorkas. He's like, well, we're making it very clear. This is, again, he won't say the border's closed. He just says it's not open. Listen.
We are making it very clear that our border is not open, that crossing irregularly is against the law, and that those who are not eligible for relief will be quickly returned.
Do you believe him?